Hello everyone, 2025 is coming to an end, and I will say that 2024 is my first year as a booktuber. This is my second, and the first year was a way better reading year than this year was. Last year was one of the greatest reading years I've ever had in my life, between Perdido Street Station, Dresden Files, Seasons of Albion. It was just I don't think I DNF'd too many books last year as compared to this year, but this year was still had its gems, and now I'm going over the top 10. There are some in that didn't make it that I was kind of surprised, because I think I remember saying in videos when I did them, this is going to make my top 10, and it actually didn't when I contrasted and compared. So right off the bat, this is One Level Down by Mary G. Thompson. This came to me by watching Chanel chapters. Happily, there's a little blurb here by Peter Watts that led me to another book or series on this list. So this is about, someday the need for laws in virtual reality as it will pertain to having, fully uploaded consciousness, or direct interface with our brains to virtual worlds, and what people should and should not be allowed to do to us. In this particular one, this fellow managed to sneak in a little clause where he can basically delete anyone he wants, and he has power over this woman who is a replica of his long deceased 5-year-old daughter, but she herself is well into her 50s, and he makes her stay that way. He gets it is hinted that he has gotten violent with her in the past when she breaks her act. He knows she's older. She knows, everybody knows, but they can't do anything about it because of his absolute power to be able to kill people. And this is about her situation. Through that, a lot of, you don't actually get anything that's actually violent in the book. It's just the tension created in it, and the ethics it brings up about virtual reality are just a wonderful read. So that made the list. Number 10. Number 9, Anji Kills the King by Ivan Likum. This was a hit and miss on booktube. I think there's people who just kind of dismissed it as a little too simple. I actually really enjoyed it, especially the uncontrollable mouth of our protagonist as she kills the king, and she is hunted by bounty hunters, and the background of the primary bounty hunter who is after her, who she primarily shares this tale with, comes to fruition. Is really good. This is apparently, I'm guessing, it's either going to wind up being a story about rebellion or assassination, or the two entwined, because there is going to be a sequel, but unfortunately it's not due out until January of 2027, so we got a whole another year. It's called Anji and Shadow, but a whole another year to wait for that one, but I enjoyed that. The City of Dreaming Books by Walter Mowers. This is a wonderful, basically just a fairy tale about obsession over books. This has something we just don't see a lot of anymore. Illustrations throughout. There's our main guy. He claims to not be a dragon, but somewhere in his history there's ancestry or something, but he's basically just a lizard with some wings that don't work. And he becomes obsessed over a particular book, and he must find its author, and winds up running into the wrong people, or person specifically, and thrust into an underground. And it is there that he finds himself, and of course has a whole civilization going on underneath there. These are called booklings, and every one of you booktubers is a bookling if you want to give that a go. It's a fun, enjoyable read, almost cozy, I guess. This one is a contradiction, because I'm calling this book or series. So this is by James Eisington, The Will of the Many, and I described this book as something that did not amaze me, but it's so well drawn up and plotted and delivered so well, I didn't find a single boring page in this book. It just didn't blow me away, but I had to know what was going to happen. And this is qualifies as, I guess, dark academia. Is all magic academia called dark academia? Can you just call it magic academia? I don't know. So he goes to class, but he's a spy. A politician adopts him and sends him in. And there's these ruins, and he needs to go find out what the hell's going on in these ruins. It has to do with running some maze set up by the school and political upheaval between a lot of players, and he's just stuck in the middle of it, playing his role as just a student. But unfortunately, its sequel, The Strength of the Few, yeah, this is did not finish for me. So I don't. This makes the list because this was so good and enthralling, and then just failed on this level. But oh well, it just maybe because it got way too far away from this and jumped into something new with triplicate versions of the same character doing 3 different storylines, and I think it just started getting a little too boring for me, and I had to give it up. But that's too bad. Number 6, Slow Gods by Claire North. So this wasn't all I expected at all. For some reason, I kept thinking this guy was going to live long enough to become some kind of technological marvel or something. And no, he gets infected. His thing is that he becomes, he's actually killed off. And it's during a faster than light travel moment, and in it he becomes infected. And the idea is that most people who can pilot a vessel through this faster than light universe to get where you're going can only do it once, because it either kills them or drives them insane. But after his transformation, or shall we say resurrection, he can do it all he wants, so he becomes a hot commodity to get people and cargo to places. The conflict here is between what is essentially just a full-blown step on everybody capitalistic dystopian civilization that thinks it's odd that you wouldn't step on your best friend to climb up the ladder. And when he gets out in the rest of the galaxy, it's just a lot of community. And this is definitely a right-wing versus left-wing book as far as politics goes. And throughout, he really has to be careful, because part of his infection is that if he hulks out, if he gets messed with enough and pushed around too much and pissed off enough, he will slaughter everything in sight and nothing can stop him. Just a great ascension read. I hope I numbered these right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 1. That's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So number 5. This is A Rescue in Bison by Elon Marsh and Christopher Warman. This is third in this series here, the eighth Chance series. Yes, 8th Chance series. This one right here was my favorite book of 2024. It has a very worthy sequel. This one, the least of the 3, but still really, really good. And with its biggest surprise is that this kid here in this book is teamed up with a long-lived elf. She's very centuries old, but he's just a little teenager, and he is so utterly arrogant and obnoxious. A nod to the quality of writing from these authors that I hated this kid so much. But he grows up and he turns into a responsible adult, and he becomes a very likable character that you want to cheer for. Central to this one, or at least the first story, was this witch out in the woods, and I can't give anything away about it, but she does have a much more prominent role in this one. Once she's had her story in this one, she just kind of turns up or is mentioned in the rest of these. And in this one, she has a much more central role, and I was very pleased with the results, shall we say. And there's going to be 2 more books in this series. So number 4, Black Cloaks by Rob J. Hayes. So this is the 4th in, I believe it's going to be 6 books Titan hoppers. There's Titan hoppers. I got it kind of in the wrong order here. And this is level up books. This is probably the best explanation on this cover. Titans, these large planetoids that a fleet of ships has attached itself to, and they have to go aboard these Titans to get the resources and materials, or else they'll just die off. And these Titans are filled with traps and ridiculous, horrid monsters. And they have some kind of, it hasn't explained exactly what the powers are or why they have these powers, but they open up in these crests, and the crest gets bigger and more complicated, and they open up powers depending on their classes. This is sort of litrpg light, because it's not like they're in a game. They just level up and get more powers as time goes by and they get more experience. And so in the fourth book, we get deep down into the Titans, and you wind up with another, this is capitalism versus socialism, where in the fleet, you just have a role, you need to do it, and all your stuff is taken care of. The only problem is the powers that be sort of corrupt the system. Down in the Titan, someone else is, there's a currency, there's a means of exchange, and again, you have some kind of dictator in control. And in the middle of it is our protagonist, who decides, I'm kind of tired of all of this, and if we don't do something about both sides, is this going to be a libertarian solution? I don't know yet, but this is just a lot of fun, and I enjoyed the series immensely. Number 3 by R.F. Kuang, Catabasis or Catabases, or Catabasis, I've heard it pronounced. This is a journey into hell, because I guess the idea was a funny line she came up with about academia is hell. So the teacher, they decided to do a magic spell, and the teacher is whisked off to hell. And if they don't go save him, their future as magicians is not so certain, and so they need to journey into hell to go get him and rescue him. Again, just maybe a little bits of this that were long-winded, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed this. This beats out a lot of good books. It probably would have placed last year too. I think it's entirely possible. And our lead girl here starts out as something rather selfish, but you sort of get it as the book goes on. And this had an ending, the climax rather, to get to let's just say it was very surprising how it was handled and what she was able to conjure up, and just thoroughly enjoyed that one by Kuang. These next two, place number 2 and 1, I had to go back and forth as to which one goes where. And even through just sitting here thinking about it, it's like, should I switch it back? So they could both be tied for first and or second place. And they're two completely different things. So we'll see if I can lift these into view. 7 books. Dungeon Crawler Carl, there they all are. Alien invasion. Some technology that allows them to not do virtual reality, but to augment and change reality, so that even though they're essentially playing a game, leveling up, and doing all sorts of just warfare nonsense, just it won't explain, hasn't explained how they do it. Whether it is an alteration of reality through some strange technology. I think there was a paragraph in there that said something like that, and I forgot to mark it so I could read it again and see what that really means. But this is, the emotional content is what really does it. I mean, if you're a gamer, you love it, but it just so happens the characters are well done, and the relationship between Carl and his, shall we say, mentally uplifted cat is just stupendous, and is the core of why these are really good. Now, the reason I think I finally decided that it's going to be number 2 instead of number 1 is that the 7th book had a little bit of a problem where too many previous characters were coming up and taking too much time and not forwarding the story fast enough. Still good. 7's still a really good book. But you know, the cat is relegated to a vague support character. I will say too that each one of these books is, here's the game, here's the deadly game we've set you up in. Carl says, I'm going to break this game, and proceeds to do so with each book. Gets everyone to follow him. I described him as basically Captain American, as everybody likes to do what he says. He knows what he's doing. He's a leader. And at some point, it's just got to get to the end game. I guess he said that there's maybe 10 books, but that's not written in stone. I assume that means 8 or 9 or 10. And good, because it needs to get on with it. I actually don't want another book where they just do another game and then they break the game and have another emotional thing, and it's just a rehash of every single one of these books that comes before. There's a galactic civilization out there. They need to get out there and deal with it. And he says over and over, I'm going to break all of you. Well, fine. You need to do that. It has to start getting there, else I think I'm in it to the end, but please move it along and do not rehash what you've already done, would be my only issues. So it was, yeah, Peter Watts's little blurb here, and they said, author of the freeze frame revolution. I had to find out what in the world that was. And it turns out it is a novella that is the second part of 4 stories. Each one of these is a short story, and what you have here is an attempt to make wormholes throughout the galaxy. And so they have to do this slower than light over time. So we have the wormhole start here. We take our spaceship and move it out to another star, make a thing, and they're connected. And then now people can instantly go from that star to that star. In the meantime, slower than light, many years go by. They get to another star, build another wormhole mouth, connect them, and so on and so on. And they're doing this for tens of millions of years. They sleep through most of it. The crew would on this large asteroid, very large asteroid, I want to say it was something close to 100 kilometers in diameter, so like basically Death Star size or so, powered by a singularity, a little black hole right at the center, and they get around the galaxy 20-30% of the speed of light or something, and that's their life. They either sleep or they're awake to do the builds, to build the new wormhole end. They do play around in virtual reality if they need to, and some of them have decided they don't like this life. Some of them are very happy with this life and the mission. Some of them are just sort of neutral, and all that conflict comes between them. And sitting on top of it all is an AI called Chimp, who is described as necessarily not very smart, except that he is vastly programmed, and all their actions and their very comments might trigger subroutines that can determine their future or lack thereof. The mission is the only thing important. This is not a complete series. It's not done yet. There's going to be more of it. There is not a collected version. And I wonder about, what I want to hear about is the fact that if they've been doing this for tens of millions of years, then the original, Earth civilization that sent them out in the first place had to start using these wormholes. And what have they been doing for tens of millions of years while these guys have been building and sleeping? One problem was that there are potentially monsters. Once the singularity is completed, these monsters come out and might chase after the ship for some short period of time. And so did the denizens of Earth come out and encounter these creatures? Did they destroy all of humanity before? Are the people in the asteroid spaceship the only living beings? I don't know. I need to know. And this wound up beating everything else as a result. I guess maybe I'm someone who isn't about slow burns. My first forays into science fiction were primarily shorter books and short stories. The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury was a big level up for me, and so I tiptoed into the short story world that way. And so this, in a way, kind of brought me back to that, I think, and it was just a really good series by Peter Watson. I don't know what if he'll just, how and where he'll publish short stories or do a collected version with a wrap-up. I mean, I have no idea what his intentions are. I tried to look, I couldn't find anything. So that's it. That's my top 10 for 2025. I want to throw in a quick DNF. So I had my eye in this for many years and finally got it. This is Cyteen by C.J. Cherryh. And this has a very interesting core idea. You have this woman who is part of a council of leaders, and she is horrifically corrupt. She's just a terrible individual. Part of her politicking is that she's had a rejuvenation treatment. She's 120 years old, but still, physically young, although she's just now starting to show some aging. And she sexually exploits this 17-year-old boy in order to keep control of that boy's father, and also keeps control of this child by this lifelong friend who's actually a clone, and under threat of, we can do something to him if you just don't do what I say and basically what I want. And she's just a despicable individual. And she gets murdered. Uh-oh. And her primary area of study, being a scientist, she's what's called a special. These are like super smart people, and the laws that normally pertain to others do not pertain to specials. And her area of expertise had to do with the idea that you take not only the genetic material, but some kind of genetic memory of that someone who's died, and you raise a new version of them. And so we start to watch a new version of her, a clone of her, grow up, get educated. She's basically a bully, but she is just smarter than everyone else around her, even as a young child, and learns how to outsmart them left and right. She even has a run-in with this fellow Justin, who was the child that the being she is cloned from was sexually exploiting. And I got about halfway through and realized I was forcing myself to read this, because despite this interesting core, everything else around it was too long-winded and boring. If it had just cut all the other material in half. There's a lot of people talking in rooms and way too much info dumping, and I found myself just not looking forward to picking it back up. I was having to make myself do it in order to get through it. I got halfway. This was going to be next week's video, but no, unfortunately, not going to do it. But help on the horizon. I got this for Christmas via request. Mobius, The World of Adina. I'm sure the vast majority of people who would watch my type of videos knows what Mobius art looks like. I need to look up if there's a specific term for this style of art. It's just ridiculously wonderful to look at. Here's the very first one. I'll give you this much. So that's the very first panel. And so you see this vehicle here, and then you notice, oh look, those are normal-sized humans. I missed it when I first looked at it. And so this is someone's large vessel that they're just sitting in right there. and 2 normal-sized guys going in there for repair. I've already read a few chapters of it. It's just beautiful looking in its simplicity. It's just gorgeous material, and that's going to be next week's video when I go through it and try to give you a better camera angle to look at it with me, and we'll go through that. So that's it. That's all. Top 10. Where'd it go? There it is. Peter Watts, #1 this year. Where'd my thing go? That was #1 last year. Looking forward to see what's going to be #1 next year, 2026. This is next week. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.